Alright, so I've got a little bit of footage that I recorded here of me just playing around with a lightsaber, and I'm gonna drop it into Fusion real quick, and then we'll add a magic mask. And I want to draw along the blade, the magic mask. Okay, pretty good. It's getting a little bit of the environment around it, and it's getting a bit of the handle, and I don't want either of those things. Just make sure that the full handle is not being selected. That's pretty good, pretty good. And now I'm going to track that. Hey, that's looking pretty clean without much additional guidance. All right, so that took about 2 minutes, and I didn't have to do anything. And there's a few spots where I'm definitely gonna have to clean it up here, so let me just make sure it doesn't get any of the blade, it doesn't get my arms, it doesn't get my face. This is an extremely forgiving process, it just takes a little bit of time to wait for it to track. You can see right here, it started to pick up some stuff, so I'm gonna make sure that that doesn't get picked up. All right, so now that I've got it mostly tracked, and it seems to be following it pretty well. You can see I added a lot of stuff. It's better than manually doing it, but it still requires some babysitting. I think that's good enough. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to apply this matte inverted, and now it will have cut out my blade for almost the entire video. All right, now I'm gonna export this with transparency, and I'm going to export it as a QuickTime video. All right, now that I'm in Blender, let me just obliterate the default cube. And in order to import in the video, you're gonna need to have this add-on here, import images as planes, which is by default in Blender. You just have to search for it and enable it in the add-ons menu. I'm gonna go to File, Import Images as Planes. All right, so it seems to have imported it as a square for some reason. That is not intentional. So you wanna go over here to your scale stuff on the side, which you can bring up by pressing N. And I know that the aspect ratio is 16:9, so if I just change the width to 16 and the height to 9, then I can just rotate it, and there you go. It's the correct aspect ratio. You want to go into shading real quick, and you want to drag the color from the source image into emission, so that way it's not dark, because it is unlit. There you go, there's that. You're also going to want to make sure that the correct number of frames are set. So I'm just gonna drag this out. I don't know exactly how many frames it has, but I'm gonna say 2,500 frames is probably a safe bet. I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Shift D, and then pressing Y to lock it to the Y axis and move it back slightly. Then I'm gonna go over here to the material menu, and I'm gonna remove this from the second one that I've currently selected, and then add a new material, and I'll set it to the color that I want. I'll do a Luke Skywalker-y blue. You know what? I'm gonna go for green. I'm a green man. And I'll also go down to the emission and set that to green as well. I'll go into the render tab here and set it to have bloom. And then I will increase the emission strength. That's looking pretty darn green. I'm gonna lower the saturation slightly to get closer to the green that I'm looking for. Go back in here, adjust the threshold so that it's just the lightsaber glowing. I'll increase the intensity but lower the radius. And now let's play it back. Hey, not bad. That looks pretty clean. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I'd say it's definitely less effort than usual. Not a perfect process, but I think those are some really darn good results. And it's all in 3D. And the coolest part about this whole process is that it's as closely as possible recreating the original effect that they did in the original Star Wars movies, where they would hand rotoscope where the blades were and then project a bright light through that shape. This is doing more or less the same thing, but in Blender. All right, feel free to try it. If you can think of a better way of quickly masking the lightsaber, maybe a solid color that isn't glowing would be easier to track. Like if you made it a green blade or a green stick, that might work super well. Better lighting would obviously help to separate the foreground from the background. Being a little bit less clumsy with the magic mask, that would probably also help. Thanks for checking this out.